What's good, everybody? In this video, I want to talk about the disease of more, how sometimes doing more can equal less in the process of trying to be the best athlete possible and your road to that, to being successful in that endeavor. If you like the content, don't forget to like and subscribe. So, this time of year, one sport that I think of because we're in the middle of it is basketball. Basketball is such a I haven't. I still don't feel like personally. I don't feel like I've mastered training basketball at the level that gives me comfort. Like I know I can train it, but I just don't. I've never been comfortable in any basketball season. And what I mean by that, to add more context, is when you get multiple basketball players from many different schools, one thing that you kind of recognize early is like everybody doesn't play the same schedule. So you may have one school where a team or that team plays Monday, Friday, or Tuesday, Friday, or Monday, Tuesday, Friday. And you also have to deal with scheduling. So, like, it's very important. Trainers, if you're a young trainer right now, the best thing you can ever do is always get a schedule of your kids, your student athlete sports. So you may have a week where they play 2 games. You may have a week where they play 3 games. You may have a week where they play 4 games. And then you got to add in tournament days. So on a tournament day, they may play 2 or 3 times a day, just depending on the structure of that tournament. And so for me, like basketball has always been that sport where I'm like, golly, man, it's just like preseason is so easy to figure out. But like in season and just building in that time to rest and recover is the hardest thing. And so for me, the best thing I've done is I don't do weekends. Like I don't train anybody on weekends. And like if I'm training a basketball players hate to hear this. Like when you say like, all right, we're gonna set up this training day here and we're gonna work out on game day. Like, oh my God. It's like you just drop a whoa God, you can't say that no more. Anyway, you just drop I don't know, something major on them. I can't think of the word. I had to be careful with my words today. But anyway, they just dropped something major on them. And so, like, for those basketball players, it's like, golly, like, what can I do? How do I dose in what I'm trying to do? And it's the same for baseball, but I think baseball is just easier. But, like, how do I dose in what I want to do? And then how do we do that effectively? Like, again, if you're working with high school athletes, these are things you have to ask yourself. Well, is this a younger kid? Like, for instance, right now, right? I got a kid who plays junior varsity and varsity. So that means when this kid plays, they are essentially going to play probably 3 hours in a day, 2.5, 3 hours somewhere in there, roughly in a day on game day. So if I was to say, like, hey, uh, Tito, I don't even have a Tito, so y'all can look that up all day. You ain't never find a Tito on my roster at currently. So you can say, hey, Tito, um, we're gonna work out today. And so the way I would structure that, if I'm working with an athlete, we'll do 30 minutes. I would do a 30-minute like firing up the CNS, getting it excited, getting the body excited so that when they get on the court, they're not feeling sluggish, they're not feeling tired, they're not feeling like, oh, I've sat too long. Like we're gonna do stuff to get excited. So I'm working with my bands, my med balls. If we work with weights, it's gonna be 65% and under. Just really rapid fire, velocity based training, probably somewhere in that ballpark. And so from there, we'll get about 15 minutes in weight room. So it's gonna be quick, like little pogo stuff like that, little stuff, just little quick fire stuff. And then from there, I'm gonna go, and then we're gonna go to the court for about 15, 20 minutes. And I just want to work on technique. So just stop and pop, shooting, pull up shots, maybe something like we feel like we've been a little off this week, like maybe like a little rhythm, some little rhythm shots, just see the ball go through the hoop, things like that. What I would stay away from, and I see kids do this, is I would not be playing. You can do one on one. One on one is great because bones are greater than cones any day of the week. Like that's great. But then I would do stuff like if you're struggling with like your handles or whatever, like just take like 2 to 3 minutes. I mean, maybe 5 minutes. Just go in the corner. You could do rhythm, pop, 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 pop. Or you can do just like freestyling, like work on some combos, cross the under, cross the behind your back, cross and retreat. You can do all kind of stuff. right hand drive, left hand strap behind you, hezzies. You can work on all kinds of stuff, whatever you want to work on in that point in that time period. So you do that, and then from there, like I said, we go on the court, and we know we're struggling with free throws. Let's take 2-3 minutes. Let's make it. Let's gamify it. So let's make it a game. Let's say, hey man, first one to hit 10. If you're a trainer and you like to get in there with your boys or girls, whatever, first one to 10, wop wop. That gets them competitive. Let the juices flow. But also, it's just again, we're just trying to gamify. And so from there, you got that 30-minute window. You cut it off. If you have a boy, if you have a girl that's playing, of course, it's gonna be four here in the South. You're gonna be 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock. So essentially, if you got this student athlete, if their last block starts at 1:15, you got roughly 2 hours, a little less 2 hours. And if their last block or last period, depending on if they block schedule or period. If they block schedule, like it's great. That's so easy to work with. If their periods, like oh my god, doing 7, 8 periods in a day, like 50-minute increments is you got to figure it out. So anyway, I would go from there, and then I would say like, all right, so we start at let's say 2:15. I'm thinking about one of my schools right now. Say we start at 2:15. So about 2:45 we done. That gives them an hour 15 to kind of cool off. They got to come back and play at 4. Remember, we're talking about female athletes. So they got to come back and play at 4. They're gonna stop around 5 o'clock. Then they're gonna come back, get an hour off, come back at 6. This video can get way more in depth than what I'm doing, but I'm just talking about context of the physicality. Because from that 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, then you also gotta ask yourself again, if you're that trainer and they ask you like what to do, like what do you want to do in that block? Do you want to just purely off their feet? Do you want to try to do a refeed, like a quick refeed, carb up again? Do you want to hydrate? Like, what's the level of importance? Like, that's really like a relationship between you and the athlete to kind of figure that out. And if you got a boy, well, they're gonna play at 5 o'clock. All right, so they're gonna play at 5, and then he got to come back and play at 7. So you really have bought yourself. If they start at 2:15, then you have like 3 hours somewhere in there, and then if you got if they just play strictly varsity, you got a much bigger window. So you can take that 30-minute court work and you really can bump up to 45. But again, I wouldn't go super intense. And so what I was gonna say when I was saying that bones are greater than cones is you can play one-on-one and stuff like that. But what I see kids do, and I just personally I wouldn't do it, depending on your load for the day. So if you got a multi-sport kid, meaning that kid had to lift weights and stuff like that before, like with the football team or something like that, then I definitely wouldn't do it. Now, if they did nothing, you can kind of get away with it, whatever. But I wouldn't play one-on-one where I'm driving a lot. So, like, if you're a driver of the basketball, I wouldn't play a one-on-one game where I'm like taking it to the hole, because it's like you gotta think you're firing your CNS up. It's physical, and so you're beating yourself up, and it's just more of a demand on the body. So I mean, I'll play one-on-one, but we'll handicap it. So we would do like one move one-on-one, jump shot one-on-one, mid-range one-on-one, 3-point one-on-one, or perimeter, whatever. You can a lane. You can only use the lane to get to play. Like, so from the free throw line to the basket, restricted to that. You can handicap it whatever way you want to, and then kind of go from there. So that's my 2 cents on how I would approach doing less to get more on game days. But then, like, just in general, we talk about less is more. I think about football players as well, because what's the first thing you hear with a lot of football guys is, this offseason I'm going to attack it. I'm going to go attack mode or go lift weights more. And like, yeah, it's great, but you're not really a great athlete when you come back. So it's making you a worse athlete. You're stronger, you're bigger, but you're stiffer. You're not as limber. You lack mobility. You're not fluid in movement and motion. And so you have to take all those things into account and then ask yourself, like, does it make sense or does it not make sense? And so we just have to take in and do less and just trust the process that you will get more from it. When you have rest periods, take those rest periods. And when you don't, you don't. So it is what it is. Anyway, as always, be legendary.